friends, this is Shoshana Shia, back with another video, and in this video I thought I'd share a little bit of some, what should we call it, behind the scenes work taking place, some transition that we're going through. And you might have noticed, if you've watched any of my videos, that I've spoken a couple of times about wanting an art studio. And part of the reason for that is because I tend to have my art supplies stored in one place and then have to keep on moving my items, moving the container that has the paints or the pencils or the paper, whatever it is I'm working with. I'm having to move that to a certain space and then pack it up and move it away. And it's also a little bit limiting as to what kind of size picture I could work with. And certain of the art that I'm wanting to do, I need a little bit of a space to spread out and work effectively, especially some of the collage and mixed media work. So I've decided to put some more effort into some of the sales of items that we have that we're wanting to let go of. And some of that comes into the area of decluttering. Some of it obviously is also selling the artwork of mine that is already sellable and fixing up and polishing the pictures of mine that's potentially sellable but needs a little bit of work in order to enable me to sell the work. And sometimes it's that the picture could be backed, it could be mounted, or the canvas needs to be varnished still. There's some work that needs to be done, but I thought I'd start doing some videos to show a little bit of what I'm doing and perhaps gain a little bit of attention to the items that I'm selling. I have mentioned in some other videos that I've been working on revising my website. So before we get back to the decluttering, a difficulty and a challenge that I've had is that I tried to put those items that were the previously loved items, I tried to put them onto a store on my Be a Happy Mom website. And unfortunately, I found it quite challenging to consider managing two stores. So I did a lot of brainstorming and came up with the concept of having a number of sections in my website. I've done a lot of work on revising and changing my Be a Happy Mom website using the Astra theme, and that's given me the opportunity to learn a lot about Astra and the using spectra and a lot of details that are quite important to know. One of them being the importance of having a staging website, which means that you can work on your website without it going live before people get to see, oh, this website looks a bit interesting, what's going on here? So that's the benefit of a staging website. The challenge is that it doesn't always save the work that I've been doing on a certain day. So I'm landing up going back and having to redo. And something is causing a little bit of a problem. I don't know if there's an interference of a plugin or what's the current challenge is with my website. I need to go back and do some more work on it. But in the meantime, I have items to sell. And so I thought I'd revisit selling some things on the buy, sell, swap groups on Facebook, listing things in WhatsApp groups, and finally getting over my fear of using Facebook Marketplace. So the challenge has been that once one puts an item up onto a buy, sell, swap group or in a WhatsApp group, the other messages and posts underneath tend to push that into Never Never Land. And if somebody happens sometime or another to notice your post, you might get a message saying, is this item still available? And then of course there's negotiation and bargaining that takes place, and you have to decide whether you'll accept the price that the person is willing to pay or wants to pay, or just has fun bargaining you down. And it can be a little bit time consuming. So I really want to get my website up. In the meantime, I thought if I start doing a couple of videos, then hopefully people can contact me via my Be a Happy Mom website if they see something they're interested in. And if it's available, I'll be happy to sell it. If it's somebody here in Israel, we're able to do the shipping. I'm still working on figuring out shipping overseas, internationally. But that's a work in progress. So a little bit more about the decluttering, if we come back to that, before I get on to the 3 items I thought I'd mention today. And that is that a number of people don't realize that occupational therapy has a role to play in the whole area of the effects of the environment and health. And there are all sorts of a lot of details as to how the environment has an effect and an impact within occupational therapy. Very basically and practically, if you have too many things around, it can become a safety issue, especially because of falling, the potential for anybody really. They tend to focus on falling hazards for the elderly, but a person at any age is at risk of falling for various reasons, and keeping one's place nice and clear and not overcluttered is very important. The other reason is if you have too many things around, it becomes a lot more complicated and challenging and a time process to clean effectively. Items can get lost. So that's just a snippet of the effects of the environment on health. There's obviously a lot more to it, and I could chat a lot more about it if anybody's interested. I'm not focusing on the occupational therapy. In fact, the interesting thing is, one of the areas that got me into doing a lot of decluttering is starting to let go of my occupational therapy equipment. So you'll see if you watch videos on decluttering that a lot of people advocate throwing away what you don't need, giving away, donating, maybe altering it in a certain way that you could reuse it, or perhaps it needs a different place to live. Perhaps it's something you might use, and you do use, but it's in the wrong place. So there are those kinds of details that are readily available. What quite a few people are not talking as much about is making use of the items that have potential to generate some income and selling what you can. Perhaps you need to fix up some things, or perhaps you need to work with it in the whole area of reuse, recycle, upscaling, and transform it a little bit into a different item to a certain extent so that it can be sold. So actually, that gives me the idea. So talking about the idea of upscaling, recycling, transforming things into something more usable, this is one of the items. Can you see it at all? One of the pictures that somebody donated this canvas, which was just this material on the back, into the Gemach, my version of a thrift store that I was managing for a couple of years. And the canvas sat in the room that I used for a store for quite some time, and nobody really even looked at it. And I kept looking at it and thinking, it looks a little bit plain. Why would somebody want it like that? And then I had the idea of lifting off some lace and some flowers from a few of the bridal gowns that we had when we were working on starting to have a bridal gown gemach. And I lifted those off and I turned it into a little bit of more of an interesting picture, painted with acrylic on the back here in the center. So I measured up that it would all be even, and then arranged the flowers so that it would become a little bit more interesting. And that sits in our salon and brings a little bit of life and beauty. And that's the kind of idea of how one could alter an item, taking some items that are no longer usable and transforming it into becoming, in this case, some wall art. So there are items that we have that do fit into the whole area of art. Some of the art is not my own art, but before we get to that, there are 3 items that I'll be mentioning now and sharing the photographs of, that I have started to list in a couple of WhatsApp groups. 2 of them I've tried posting on the Facebook Marketplace, and unfortunately I couldn't find them. And when I did try to find the one item, which is a Sealy Posturepedic ergonomic pillow. I found some pretty good other items that are similar, but not exactly the same, but similar. And that's given me the idea to go and have a look at how they've done their product descriptions and see if there's anything I need to improve or to alter. And also I think I'm going to take another photograph of the pillow itself. The box, I think the image is okay. You'll see the items coming through now. And I want to do another photograph of the pillow itself so that you can see it more clearly. I took it at a little bit of an angle and it perhaps was not a good enough angle, so I want to retake that photograph, and that's a photograph to take, and then relist it. And of course, as you see it over here, and you'll have seen listed on the box that the selling price is 520 shekels. I only used this pillow once or twice, unfortunately, after having had whiplash. The angle, the pillow is a little bit high for me, so it puts my neck at an angle that's too painful, and as a result I cannot use it and I don't have the space to store it. So somebody else might enjoy it. It's a very quality pillow, Sealy Posturepedic, as I say. So if you're interested, you can contact me via my website on beahappymom.com, and the link will be in the description and also in the pinned comment. And that's the first item that I'm selling. The next item that I'm selling, I've been going to and fro. Do I really want to sell this? It has potential that I could use it, but in the number of years that I've had it, I've never got around to use it. I bought it towards working on balance with a number of children that I was working with. I used to enjoy setting up obstacle courses, and I thought this would be a really fun inclusion as part of the obstacle course, but unfortunately I didn't get the opportunity to have the space I needed to have all of the equipment necessary. I had quite a lot of the equipment, and as a result I didn't promote myself to get the students to work with. I used to go out to their homes instead of them coming to me, and that was one item I didn't schlep with me. So it's never been used, and I thought it's taking up space we could do with the money, and my goal now is to have my art studio. Yes, it would be good to work on my balance also and do some strengthening, and that's a good idea, but it hasn't yet happened. So in the meantime, it's going up for sale, and that's the balance pad, which if anybody follows any exercises, especially from physical therapists, do make sure that you are permitted to use a balance pad, that your balance is adequate enough, and that you have the right environment to be able to use it. But all being well, or if you're starting your own private practice, you might benefit and be interested in purchasing this balance pad. The next item that I've listed both in WhatsApp group, Buy Sell Swap, and I'm about to be putting it onto the Facebook marketplace, is the Sensi cushion, and that's used quite a lot with people who needs a little bit more input when they're sitting down. They sit on the cushion, it's got air inside it, and you can see the bubbles that are within the plastic that give a certain amount of sensory input. An occupational therapist might benefit from this. Certain children or others might benefit. An occupational therapist might recommend that you use this Sensi cushion either to improve your posture while you're sitting or for a number of other reasons. And if that's something that you're interested in, then do be in touch with me via my website. Those are the first three items that I'm looking to promote. I have many other items. I'm considering perhaps doing a couple of videos about either setting up the items to be ready to photograph, or to be ready to start to price them, or whatever phase I'm doing in preparing them. Perhaps I'll do a little bit more about the challenges I'm having in getting my website back up and happening. And I thought I'd just put this out there. And with that, as I mentioned in my last video, I'm finding that doing a little bit of drawing between tasks is helping to keep me calm, because we have a lot on the go, and it helps me to de-stress, take out the overwhelm, think a little bit more effectively, and maintain being productive with all the different types of activities we have happening. And I'm really looking forward to sharing and seeing to what extent I can sell all those items we're no longer needing, including selling a lot of my art, towards having both my website up and happening and an art studio. That would be just tremendous. So join me on the journey, and with that, I'm off to do a drawing. See you.